Yeah, certainly.
So to put that scenario into the Route 1 scenario is kind of too bad to have to do that, but they are in that same C2 zone, so.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So my question to the board is, what is the downside to allowing, once again, residential uses in the C2 district? You know, what is the downside to doing that?
Because,
Pay property taxes like anybody else.
right,
It doesn't mean you're going to see a massive residential development in the C2 simply because it's allowed.
right, and it doesn't mean we're gonna see that happen on Route 1 just because it's allowed, but that would be the underlying catch in case something did happen. But,
I believe one of the issues that came up before was, this wouldn't affect the downtown district, would it? I think one of the issues before was people placing apartments downtown and things like that. So as long as it doesn't affect that, I think that was one of the issues that had come up in the past.
Well, like I said earlier, multifamily is currently allowed in C2.
Yeah.
right. Well, the idea would be to spur growth, so anything would be better than nothing at that point, putting it that way, so. The original proposal was to allow it in that zone. That would be the blanket that would solve the problems, you know, and make everybody happy all the time. What can you do?
Well, one camp wants residential growth, and the other camp wants commercial growth. So, I mean,
And neither one is happening at the moment. in this
Right.
town.
neither one is going to happen.
It's a race,
Right
allow them
now.
both, see who can get
Well,
there
the whole
first.
part of zoning is one goes one place and one goes the other. And we have a residential, what was a beautiful residential zone where McDonald's is now along the river, and is now filled with mixed businesses and a couple residences still there.
McDonald's was Wardwell's maintenance shop,
Yeah.
construction company maintenance shop.
And so you have a mixture of businesses and residences. But I guess it's mainly, that's all zoned commercial now for the most part. Most of that area where McDonald's is.
What's the most recent commercial use along Route 1 out there?
So it's all trending in that direction. It's certainly trending commercial.
The last thing that was built out there was Family Dollar.
It was the strip mall.
That's-
But as before,
And that's been
Bayview
there for a
Avenue
while.
isn't going to go commercial.
Well, years.
And this is directly adjacent to
Hasn't been any
Bayview
new
Avenue.
businesses.
Hey,
Yeah.
has Johnny sold any,
Hmm?
has Johnny sold any of the
The back lots
Yeah,
up on Park Street?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. He's thinking of doing something with that.
yeah.
He's thinking of connecting it, is what I heard. That's all I heard.
Yeah.
You wanna just go
Haven't
with
seen anything.
you wanna go with allowing them both and see, what pans out in the next meeting, see who appears to say what in the public hearing?
What are your thoughts on that?
One thing that hasn't been done, that is not required to be done, but might be beneficial to do, is to notify the owners of properties on Bayview, every property owner on Bayview, to let them know that we're considering changing the zone of the abutting lot from C2 to village, village, and see if there's any reaction from any of them.
That's a smart idea. It would be nice to have a full board, too.
Well, that's
Like to hear from George and Brian.
Well, in a nice world, it would be nice for every abutter to come in here and come before us. But
Exactly.
it's not gonna happen.
No,
You
most.
sent out 48,
they
we
won't
got
show
one
I mean,
tonight,
we've got 2 fine people who have come forward tonight to share their views.
Right.
There's 40-some more abutters there, is that right?
You're talking about the RP
Yeah.
notifications, yeah. I'm talking about notifying
Yeah.
people who live on Bayview that their
Just Bayview.
their next door neighbor
Oh,
may
okay.
have a zone change.
But still, hearing from them, how would that prevent the main municipal issue of the spot zoning?
Well, it's just another source of information that might help guide you
Yeah.
in making the right decision. Like I said, it's not mandatory. is an idea.
Do you need a motion to make that effective?
Do you want to make a motion to table it?
Well, I think we should make a motion to table it.
Yep, I agree. I make a motion to table this.
Table
I
what?
second that motion to table the plan until, what, further information?
Are you
Yeah,
only with this one proposed change,
Yes.
not the entire?
Yes, not
proposed-
the entire Penny's Cave, just this one,
No, just this one item.
just this one item, yes.
Table the proposed zone change until,
Next meeting, we should be able to.
Until next meeting and further discussion.
and would the board like me to notify the owners of property on Bayview about this proposed zone change?
That would be fantastic if you would do that.
Okay, so with that, I think we're done reviewing the proposed changes to Appendix K, unless there's anybody here that has any questions or comments to make. Looks like there is.
I'd like an exception. I'd like to go back to a previous discussion around the, I believe it was a shoreline zoning or resource protection, where it sounded like it was going to take an awful lot of time for this all to be resolved. I don't understand why, because we had an ordinance before the state forced all these new boundary lines on us that was in our policies and our ordinances, and we were forced to accept what the DEP was saying. Now they've retracted that. Why can't this board just recommend to the town council at its next meeting in January to go back to the previous ordinance, have a public hearing on it and act on it, and be over by the end of January, and let these people have their land back so they can do what they want with it. I'm hearing it might stretch out for another, 2 or 3 months, and it just,
I was under the impression, I don't disagree with you, but I was under the impression that it had to go through DEP approval.
you've already got a letter from them saying that
2012.
that they could care less about it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Where does that stand, Jeff?
Well, it's, I wish it was that simple. I
Well, it
really
should
do.
Right.
But we're talking about making a change to our land use ordinance that involves changes in language. Here's some changes in language that we're proposing, and changes to our zoning map. This represents the changes that I propose on the zoning map. Any change to our land use ordinance or zoning map requires a process you have to follow, which is what we're doing exactly tonight. A first reading, second reading, public hearing, recommendation to the council. They do a first reading, second reading, and they can hold a public hearing too. They're not required to, but they can. And then they have the final say. They adopt or reject the proposed changes. If they adopt it, it goes to DEP. This is just the process we have to follow. I wish exceptions could be made, but unfortunately, there isn't that mechanism in the town code to allow the planning board or the town council to make exceptions to that process.
Well, you already got a letter from them, so why do you
Yeah.
send it to them again?
Got to go through the
I don't know,
motions.
It just blows
Yeah.
my mind that, these people had their land basically told that they can't do what they want with their land, and all of a sudden, 6 years after the fact, they came back and said, oh, forget what we told you, 3 years, whatever. Yeah, and,
It's a huge number of I's to dot and a huge number of T's to cross that he's having to do. If you look at the paperwork, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of things to go through in order for this to be done properly. So that's what we're trying to do.
I could just so see where you're coming from. These poor people, their land has been held hostage for 6.5 years when it shouldn't have been held hostage.
Right.
You know,
Due to no fault of their own.
we were opposed to it when it was a lot of
I'm
people
telling you,
came to
I
the
feel for those landowners. I
Originally,
do.
were
6.5
opposed to it.
years? I mean, this is silly. I mean, are we part of this silliness? I don't know. It's just,
I'm not one of these
We're subject
landowners,
to it.
it's
Yeah.
not my battle. But,
We're doing
Yeah,
it,
I
we're
just-
doing it the right way, though.
Man, Can there be a better way? I guess is what I'm
Seems that
saying.
Hmm.
Amongst us.
Are you in a hurry to sell your land?
No, I just.
Sick of it.
You know, it's ridiculous when it happens, but
Right.
there's a point system involved, and I think it cut off with 9 points, they said, well, totally took the not 10 points. There's a 1 point difference in why they got my land. It's all because they put a culvert in wrong, flooded the meadow. They got a culvert high because they got a 24-inch gas line underneath it. They couldn't run it the right way, they had to bring it up over the gas line.
Yeah.
So you got a culvert that's underwater on one end and so out of the water on the other end.
Couldn't even go out and cut wood on it if you wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Night.
See you, Dick.
All right. Night.
Good night, thank you.
I wish they could hear. Resource protection is the district, it's the most restrictive shoreland district that DEP requires. And it doesn't say you can't use land in resource protection. It just says that if you want to use the land, you're subject to a closer review. For example, if your entire lot's in resource protection, you can actually still build a house. But the house has to be a certain distance away from the resource. It has to be limited to a certain size and height. There's that type of oversight in resource protection that you don't have in other shoreline districts. I think the general feeling is, however, if it's resource protection, then you're dead in the water. You can't do anything in your property. Well, that's just not true. Plus, to put things in more perspective, most of the properties that are in RP that we're talking about changing are in remote areas of town. And I haven't heard really anybody come to me and say, you know, I simply can't use my property because of the zone it's in. So, you know, these are remote areas, this is a remote area, this is a remote area,
but still,
this is remote,
Was he the one out on?
Well, Mrs. Nason
yeah,
couldn't
we had
sell her property.
this is a remote area, this is not remote, this is, I mean, Silver Lake Road goes through here, so it does affect a couple of residential properties.
Regardless, you feel that this process could be resolved by March, correct? That's what you.
If all goes well.
If all goes well, that's what you stated earlier, which is only
Yeah.
only 3 months.
It's winter.
Right, to do to go through the process correctly.
Just
It
like
takes-
any
Right.
zone change, it takes the same routine you have to go through.
Right, that's not that
Any
unreasonable.
change to our land use ordinance. Yeah. We actually made a change in the town charter that expedites the process, and that change is you are the board that does the detailed review of changes in the ordinance. In the past, before the charter was changed, you would present your recommendation to the town council, and it would go to another committee for more review and more time consumption. That was changed in the charter. Now, you do the legwork, you make the recommendation to the council, and they react on your recommendation about whether they believe the change should be made or not.
Right.
The second change that was made to expedite the process is the town council is no longer required to hold public hearings on changes to the land use ordinance. You hold the public hearing. They can, if they want to, hold their own public hearing, but they're not required to. So, again, that change was made to help expedite the process.
Right.
It still takes a long time, there's no question about it.
It's a process you gotta go through for a lot of things.
Thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, any discussion? That's nice try, we gotta do number 9 first. No discussion
I'll
tonight?
skip that.
None?
I'm about disgusted out.
All discussed out? We have a movement to adjourn, I second. All in favor? We are
I
adjourned.
like that, don't you?
I do, it's really loud too, I can tell you.